Yo, what's going on guys, it's Anime1 back here with another video, and today I'm here with another report of what if Naruto was neglected and ended up like Obito. So if you guys like the content in the channel, please subscribe to the channel, and also while you're at it, like the video. So let's begin the video. Suki felt Russ's power growing, yet at the same time it did not feel like it was her own power, but the rather power that someone else merging with her own. It was a feeling like nothing else, and it increased to the point that it got hard to contain or control. Suki was conscious enough to know where she was and decided that she had been trapped long enough. Now was her time to make her move. If they were at where she was supposed to be, good. If not, too bad for them, because she didn't care. She knew where she was supposed to go. She flexed her power, and the result was glorious. It was like being freed of some bonds that you held against your will, yet only made you feel stronger. The power was still merged with her, and she felt powerful like never before. It was like the power itself was restrained, like her. Now it was free, and it felt amazing. She was high on power, so high that she could not only distance hear someone calling her name, she paid the call no need, only having one destination in mind. She flexed her power, this time commanding it to make her fast, and it obeyed. Power allowed her to move at speeds that only Menma was capable of going. Suki knew that her restriction seals had been taken off before she was put into a coffin, so she was almost twice as fast as she was before. Coupled up with the power of the seal, she was fast enough to give Menma a run for his money. She was slowly coming down from the high, so her rationality was coming back. She looked back once to see if anyone was following her or not. She gave a satisfied smirk upon seeing no one and continued on her journey with a greater vigor. She finally came to the border that separated the Fire Country and the Rice Country. It went by the name of the famous Valley of the End. The place not only served as the border between the two countries, but as the famous landmark. This place was carved out when Hashirama Senju fought with his best friend Uchiha Madara to the death. Tsuki jumped from head to the first Hokage down to the water, onto the head of the spiky red-hair statue. This was it. Once she crossed this valley, she would sever all her bonds with Konoha. There was no coming back from this. She froze in tracks, however, upon hearing that slightly familiar voice, filled with coldness and searing rage, masked with nonchalance. I hope you know that I won't let you leave like this, Suki. Enma chased after his rogue comrade, frowning at how he was pushing himself. Granted, even when he almost removed all his restrictions from this mission, but for Suki to match the speed that she was going at with the majority of his resistance removed was troubling, and felt a bit guilty for feeling this, but he felt excited. The thought that he might have to use his full power to fight Suki gave him a rush that brought a feral grin on his face. For too long he had wanted to have a fight that he could give in his all. He had given it a thought that the coffin that Suki was a part of some sort of process was supposed to release the full power of the cursed seal, and Menma knew just how powerful Suki was with the seal. There was a quiet, reasonable amount of distance between him and Suki, due to the latter having an earlier start, but he was actually catching up. He frowned when he sensed the chakra signature stop in front of him. Why would Suki stop? Did she know that Menma was in pursuit? Deciding not to let the opportunity slip, Menma turned a full throat, rapidly approaching the distance between him and Suki. His eyes widened when he saw Suki come into view, but narrowed when he actually deducted where the two of them had arrived at. Using the bloody flicker jutsu and arriving at the head of Hashirama Senju, just as Suki was on one start again, starting to walk away, straightening up, he spoke in a normal voice that was clearly reached the Uchiha. I hope you know that I won't let you leave like this, Suki. The Uchiha froze in his tracks, and Menma watched as he slowly turned around him. Alarm bells rang in his mind when he looked at her appearance. Suki was much looked like when the power of the curse mark flowed in her chakra network, but there was a clear difference. Suki's left side was covered in black marks like before, but her left eye had changed, having a black scoral and a golden iris, which gave him a rather menacing look, not to mention the slick smile that was on her face. It meant he was looking drenched. Menma looked down as he remembered his brother's last words to him. Menma, protect Suki no matter what. And that was what he was gonna do. He was gonna protect Suki from Orochimaru stealing her body, and even if he had to break every single bone in her body, he would bring her back to the village. I decided to speak first. Do you have a reason why you deserted the village, Suki? Suki's answer was detached if she no longer cared what Menma said. I'm done fooling around with Leaf and you, Menma. Konoha can now make me strong enough for what I need to do. Menma had to admit that Suki was partially right in that regard, but what happened with Itachi Uchiha? He wanted to keep a close eye on Suki to prevent it from happening again. Konoha's history with the powerful Uchiha was not so good. Regardless, you are coming back with me to the village, whether you like it or not. My team did not risk their lives for nothing. Suki tilted her head, as if she was merely curious. You think you can force me to come back, Menma? Menma's eyes narrowed at how Suki so casually disregarded the fact that lives had put into the stake to get her back. Suki continued, I don't think you fully understand the power that I now possess, Menma. And it was true. Ever since her curse seal had been enhanced, Suki could tell that she was substantially more powerful than before. She was sure that she could take on Menma and win, but she knew that she would have to work hard for it. Naruto would be disappointed in you. That froze the blood flowing in her veins. In a slow whisper, she snarled, What did you just say? Menma knew that he was on low. Naruto was a sore spot for Suki, and heading it that way was cruel for her, but he needed Suki to see reason before she proceeds to fight him. My brother got strong inside the village, Suki. You know that he didn't need any outside help to become strong as he was. Shut up! Suki yelled, but no move to attack Menma. You know nothing. You know nothing. He protected you. You who treated him so poorly when he was just a kid. That village that destroyed him. He tried to protect it with his own goddamn life. Why should I be in that village that's so rotten to the core? Suki shouted at him. That made Menma froze. He held down his head. I know, Menma said, but it was cold. My point is all the shinobi of Konoha, the first Hokage, the second, the third, the fourth, Orochimaru, your brother, Guy, Kakashi, and my brother. All of these shinobi are the product of Konoha, just like your brother was, and my brother was. They are not weak, just like your brother and mine. You can become strong as well, Suki. Just think Konoha. Konoha has held me back enough. I will not go back to the rotten place that stole him away from me. If that village can give me the strength I need, I'll take it from somewhere else. Suki trampled over Menma's words as if they hadn't been spoken. C was sick of this. Menma was starting to get annoyed now. You must have dropped a few brain cells somewhere if you think I'll let you go to Orochimaru and have that body of yours. Menma said, I made a promise to my brother that I would protect you. Suki glared at Menma as if you ever cared about him, you idiot. You never did, and you never will. To you Konoha scums, he was just an expendable thing, someone they could bear their anger on. I will not let that slide. Sooner or later, I'll kill Orochimaru and come for Minato and your family who dared to attack Naruto and give him the life of hell that he doesn't deserve. The one who deserved that life was you. You are the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, not Naruto, Suki said. Suki spread her arms. If you think you can make me come back to the village, then I dare you to try. She was practically inviting him to fight her. Menma knew his heart was beating faster as the adrenaline started flowing. This was his chance to really go all out, but he had to be careful. Suki knew how he fought, and he would no doubt be avoiding his palm strikes that Menma frequently used to slap the Hiraishi mark on his opponents, or just any sort of seal. This would be a completely different type of fight, a fight that was based on partially on this mission and partially on who was the most powerful between them. Menma had proved himself superior time and time again to Suki, but Suki seemingly had an edge now, and to be frank, Menma wanted to drag out the simple fight pitch against himself against the Uchiha to see whether each of them stood. Let the fight begin. Menma made eye contact with Suki under the pretense of glaring at him. Suki was about to taunt him when she felt herself freezing up, immediately recalling a similar incident where Orochimaru had done the same thing. The name of the technique sprung onto her mind. Kabinari no Jutsu. Before she could flex her chakra to free herself from him, Menma had rocketed forward and had ruthlessly slammed her into the wall behind her, his hand pressed against her throat and holding him up. Menma gazed intensely as he held Suki by her throat. That was one of the fastest Shanshin no Jutsu, he had to admit. And yet, judging by the lack of surprise, Menma knew that Suki had managed to see him to a degree, as if she knew that Menma would do that. Menma's senses rang out a second before Suki's knee came up to bury itself in her gut, or what would have happened in his gut had he not jumped back. Suki sprang forward to engage Menma in a furious battle of taijutsu, her Sharingan activated at the moment. Menma had frozen, and she knew better than to underestimate the redhead. Menma was faster than Suki, but the persistence of the Sharingan allowed Suki to either dodge or block hits by the smallest of the margins. On the top of the Valley of the End, Naruto, with his orange mask, was watching the entire fight. They both could not sense his presence because he was suppressing it to a level that even the most capable sensory ninjas would not be able to sense him, and the fight, even for him, was rather amusing. Suki was, he could say, more in love with him than he could have ever imagined. He knew her feelings right from the start, but he never gave a thought about it. That was just how the shinobi world was. Never did he ever cared about something. He would get his life with her in the infinite Tsukuyomi. The truth was, he also had feelings for her, but his goal came first. His life with her. He could all have that all in the infinite Tsukuyomi, and nothing could stop him. And he was gonna do that, but this fight was amusing to him, so he would watch it, and if necessary, if Menma somehow won, he would step in and take Suki away. But Naruto doubted. Even with the Hirashin, Menma could defeat Suki. He knew for a fact that she had unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan when she saw him die, and that would give her advantage. And he knew for a fact that her Mangekyo ability was one of the strongest that he ever seen. Not strong as his Kamui, but still, it was something. And this ability would take the main advantage that Menma had in this fight away from him. Both Menma and Suki jumped back. They were both panting a little, but they were both fine otherwise. Menma had his eyes red with slits on them, and Suki had the three Tomoe Sharingan glaring at Menma. They were both evenly matched at this stage, and this was troubling. Suki felt the power inside of her and a lot of chakra due to that. That meant she could use that. She closed her eyes and started channeling chakra to it. Mangekyo Sharingan, she said as her eyes changed, forming a five-pointed star and glaring at Menma. This time, she would not lose. She could not lose. She had to kill Orochimaru and Itachi. Orochimaru for stealing Naruto away from her, and Itachi for stealing her family, the happy life that she would have had away from her. And no matter what, those two were gonna die. Even if she had to kill Menma in the process, so be it. Her seal also spread over her body, and that was just the first stage. The markings, the flame-like markings, spread across her body as her Mangekyo Sharingan glared at Menma. Menma reached into his pouch and pulled out three-pronged kunai and threw them everywhere, at least to the ground at the side of the Valley of the End, in case he needed to flash away and escape from any serious damage. But before he could blink, Suki was right in front of him with her fist raised. He didn't have any time to block, so he received a direct punch to the face, and before he could blink again, Suki was behind him with her hand raised up. She double axe-handed him back, sending him inside the water. Menma eyes were wide. He couldn't even follow her movements. That meant he had to use that power. Red chakra bubbled up inside Menma, and a tail appeared behind him. Swing! Menma flew out of the water, rushing towards Suki, who could easily follow him with her Mangekyo. She smirked as again that happened. Menma, before his fist was inch away from Suki's face, she vanished and appeared behind him, and this time it was a brutal one. She created a Chidori and stabbed it right through Menma's shoulder as she held him by his neck. You don't understand what kind of situation you are in, Menma, she said. But before she could do anything else, two hands made out of red chakra tried to attack her, but she jumped back and looked at Menma, whose wound in his shoulder was slowly closing up, and it did. She narrowed her eyes. That wound would be a fatal one, yet he healed that quickly. The power of the QB, huh? She thought as she looked at Menma, who had a crazy look on his face as a second tail appeared behind Menma. Yes, Suki, even if I have to break every single bone in your body, I will bring you back to the village and fulfill my promise to my brother, Menma said. Suki scoffed. You call him your brother, and yet you treated him like trash. You are not worthy of being his brother, she said, and this time her left eye bleeded. Amaterasu, she said, and Menma had to dodge black flames that came his way. Shit, I was nearly caught by that. Before he could say anything, black flames engulfed his entire body as Menma had to let go of the red chocolate cloak as the chakra in the cloak was burning it away. The black flames did not have any signs to stop at any time soon. Naruto, who was watching above, the scene from above, smirked. So, she has the Amaterasu, just like Itachi, and her right Mangekyo. That's a rather interesting ability, I must say so myself, Naruto said, as he chuckled. She might actually be quite a useful tool in the future. He knew what was the result of this battle gonna be. Menmat's brought a two tails, but yet the Mangekyo was just too powerful. Menma sprang forward in full speed, but before he could reach Suki again, but this time Suki's eyes were wide. Menma was actually reaching her, but Menma also saw what was happening. His speed became much slower as he reached Suki. His eyes narrowed as he smirked. So that's your Mangekyo ability. Anything around you within 5 meters of range becomes slower and slower as they come near you. But my speed is so great that even with the Mangekyo I'm able to reach this distance. But he was about to say something else. Suki grabbed his hand and lifted him up from the ground and threw him to the statue. Menma crashed into the statue as he groaned. Damn it. Even with that, she is too fast, he said. He knew for a fact that if they fought in the land, he would have an upper hand due to the Hiraishin, but since they fought in the water, his Hiraishin kunais could not stay floating up in the water, and that was the problem that he was having. He groaned as he held out his hand as a Rasengan form. I'm gonna end this thing right here and right now, he said, and the Rasengan was rather large. Suki saw this and smirked as the curse mark spread even more in her body as wings came out of her back. So will I, she said, as she created a Chidori. And the thing was, the Chidori was not normal, it was black in color. As they both rushed forward, Menma! Suki! They both slammed their attacks together, forming a huge explosion. And in the distance, Kakashi was rushing towards the student. Come on, be in time, god damn it, he said. Pakan, where are they fighting right now? He said. Yes, they both are fighting. From what I can sense, they both are rather weak as well, he said. Kakashi was now sweating. God damn it. I will not lose another student, he said, as he rushed towards the Valley of the End. At the Valley of the End, Suki was standing over Menma as he looked at his unconscious body. She did not want to kill him because of the bonds that she had, but he was one of the reasons that Naruto had such a horrible life. But she did not have any time for that. She could sense someone coming towards this direction, and she had to go, so she left off without looking back. This was her new journey, and she was going to kill Itachi by obtaining the power that Orochimaru would give her, and in the end, she would kill that snake too. Naruto, who was looking at the scene, smirked. Yes, good, she won. All that's left is to things play out accordingly, and you'll be within my grasp, and we'll achieve the infinite Tsukuyomi once this is all over. Good, he said as he vanished in a swirling vortex. Skip a week later, in a dark cave, several holograms figures were standing, and They were wearing a very common outfit, black cloak with red clouds in them. We haven't gathered like this since the snake left. A man with a long sword strapped at his back and sword-like features said, "Yes, indeed. But today we have come here to discuss about our plans that was stored in 4 years exactly," said the man who had a ripple-like pattern in his eyes, and he was Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki. "So, 4 years, huh? That's a long time. What do we do until then?" said another figure. He was Sasori of the Red Sand. "We do nothing. All we have to do is gather bounties and build the finance of the Akatsuki. And once we do that, everything will just fall into the place. We'll start our capture of the Jinchurikis in 4 years exactly from this date, and I'll assign your Jinchurikis to you accordingly." "Got it," Pain said, as all the Akatsuki members nodded. "Good then. We are leaving," said Pain, as all the holograms disappeared, except him, Conan, and one more man who was not a hologram, but he was actually there. "So, what do you think? Is 4 years enough time?" said Pain, looking at the man. The masked man nodded. "Yes, it is more than enough time. Also, don't worry about the money. We have enough, but having more will just be beneficial." Pain narrowed his eyes at the man. "What do you mean, we have enough?" asked Pain. "Gato of the shipping company. I was there when those leaf ninjas defeated Gato and killed him, and I knew where his base was, so it wasn't very hard to find all of his belongings and his national treasure. We have more than enough money because of that, but with our plans of restating the Rain Village back to its former glory, it'll take a lot more finance than we are right now, so they will definitely help," said the masked man. Both Pain and Conan nodded. "Very well. Will you go after any of the Jinchurikis?" asked Pain. Masked Man sighed. "It depends. If the member of the Akatsukis are still alive up to that point, then no, that's an obvious answer. But if we are low on members, then I'll have no other choice but to go after the Jinchurikis myself. And they'll probably be the 8 or the 9 tails. Or the Jinchurikis, you can probably handle them yourself, can't you, Nagato?" said the masked man. Pain nodded. "Very well, if that's what your decision is. We have nothing else to talk," said Pain, as both him and Conan's hologram disappeared. Naruto looked in the distance blankly. His shotgun was now deactivated. That meant his eyes were black. "Soon, Nagato, you will realize that you're nothing but a pawn, and a pawn that needs to be disposed when your usefulness is finished," Naruto said with a dark chuckle.